was also of master, chief officer, everyone were doing their best to get whatever they can get from, there was a person called Captain Matthews. There was one Mr. Joe Montero. There was our agent Frank Rosario. Everybody were helping the master there at that end to procure whatever they wanted.
Okay.
So master, chief officer, and with their resourcefulness, they managed to get probably 12 or 14 the exact figure is not known, but it was between 12 and 14 life rafts from a local supplier, which was a big.
The life jacket.
And the Navy supplied 387, precise 387, which I came to know from the logbook. It was 400 which they had told me, but the precise figure which was supplied on board was 387 life jackets. And the master had made arrangements for either 12 or 14 life rafts. Now, all that had happened. Still, we were not given the green light. So, Mr. Fabian, who was in regular touch with me and with the master, we gave a detailed message to the master. Master said, we are now almost prepared, we are ready. We are still awaiting the life jackets and the life rafts. But, so I told the master in a very detailed message, contact the Iraqi authorities and check with them what course you have to take.
But the cargo had to be discharged first, taken over by the army. That was one of the conditions before they could allow the ship to go.
Without discharging, you cannot put the passengers.
Absolutely.
So discharging was going on. Discharging was going on by the Iraqi army. In other words, the cargo which you had got for Kuwait Supply Company was actually being discharged from the 11th of August till about the 1st of September by the Iraqi army.
Okay.
And in other words, it was kept by the Iraqi army.
And simultaneously you were preparing the vessel for evacuation.
No, while what we were doing was the preparations for toilets, etc., that could be made at the back.
Yeah.
And for the hatches, one by one, as they got empty, the hatches were this.
So you were preparing.
We were preparing that. The master and the crew were preparing that. When I gave a detailed message to the master to contact the Iraqi authorities to sail out, they have to be extremely careful. They must know what course to take out. Then also to contact the BBC and the Washington radio. The messages were going via BBC and Radio Washington.
Okay.
For the foreign vessels not to attack should the vessel be coming out with the evacuees.
Okay.
So these messages were all told to the master that these have to be sent as soon as he departs from Kuwait.
We have copies of that.
It's all that was arranged. Okay. Now eventually on the 3rd of August they received the life jackets and they received the life rafts. Going back on timelines, 1st of September, all cargo was discharged. So 1st and 2nd September, they were making, fully now the vessel was being prepared. Captain Matthew, who was the nautical surveyor for the port of Kuwait, was coming and inspecting the ship, coming and inspecting the existing LSA FFA. Then Captain Matthew also saw that the life jackets and the life rafts were on board. And now, everything was ready. We were awaiting the boarding of the passengers. So, boarding of the passengers started on 4th of September. 4th of September, the boarding started. Now, the list of the passengers who were boarding was not prepared either by the embassy or by the master or by the ship owners. It was all made by the Indian committee, which was consisting of Indian volunteers and the Indian populace who were there.
Okay.
All sick people, pregnant ladies, elderly people were given preference. And out of 500 of them were in that category. Remaining 222 were of the category who deserved to go first. Also, students were given first preferences. We had nothing to do with the selection.
Okay.
They boarded the vessel and at 16:30 hours, the vessel started moving out.
Before that,
prior to that, sorry.
so when you have so many people, and particularly when you have mentioned that there were so many women and children and pregnant ladies, what about the medical aspect of the journey?
Right. There were also doctors and nurses.
Okay.
Captain, one minute. You know, the whole list of the passengers was prepared by the community workers at Kuwait. There were a lot of people, Indians, who were doing service there. So the passengers were also aligned by that.
Okay.
So they knew the requirement of medical aid.
Okay.
So some of the passengers, there were 9 of them, I think 10 nurses.
10 nurses and 6 doctors
Okay.
were on board, which we as owners did not know.
Okay.
Right? There were 9 pregnant ladies, 10 nurses and 6 doctors on board. Even doctors and nurses, they also wanted to leave Kuwait. Nobody wanted to be there.
Okay.
So they were doing a dual service.
Okay.
They are also supervising as well as, trying to leave Kuwait, and therefore they were given preferences.
Perfect. Perfect.
So medically, there were a lot of sick people, a lot of sick children, etc. But you have to take that chance. Firstly, get out of the war zone. Then, go home and do whatever treatments you want or whatever is required. That is the whole idea of it. But prior to departure, we had a hiccup. Our chief also was, one of the Iraqi naval guys came on board and asked chief officer, why are you flying the Panama flag?
Okay, because the vessel was registered.
The vessel was registered in Panama.
Okay.
So why are you flying the Panama flag? So he says, we are flying the Panama flag because our vessel is registered in Panama. But we are all Indians. We are having all passengers who are also coming as Indians. So with your kind permission, we will now, as per the instructions given to us, we will be now flying the Indian flag on the stern. He flew the Iraqi flag on the mainmast,
Okay.
and he put 2 signs on the ship side, both sides, Al Hind.
Okay.
Because the Iraq-India relations were good, and because they were moving out, anybody seeing the Iraqi flag on the mainmast, Indian flag at the back, and Al Hind on the ship side would think twice to fire at the ship. So it was a caution.
Okay. Very brilliant idea.
Brilliant idea. They started, as soon as the vessel got off the berth, big explosion occurred in the port.
Okay.
Now, this is something you can imagine.
Explosion.
Explosion in the port.
Okay.
Passengers who have just come, what must be the fear in their
Yeah, it scares you.
Scary. However, the explosion occurred somewhere else. The tug which was pulling out the ship, the tug went to sea. The explosion had occurred somewhere else in the port. The tug came back, pulled the vessel out, and within 2.5 hours, at 16:30 hours, vessel was clear of Kuwaiti waters.
With all the 722 expected Indian
Yeah.
expatriates.
And there's one more thing where Mr. did not come anywhere. That is, when the Iraqis tried to discharge the cargo, the cranes were not working. There was no power supply. Now what happens if they can't discharge? If they can't discharge, the ship can't sail because she has to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You can't take passengers. But at this time, our electrician who was there on board, he said, let me check out. The main switch was off. It was on.
That was the port. What he is trying to mean is, see, we are now discussing only this aspect. Iraqis attacked on 2nd August. Discharging stopped. On 10th August, they decided that Iraqi army will take over the cargo.
Okay.
So Iraqi authorities came on board. they wanted the discharge to go with the ship's crane, shore cranes.
Sure thing.
They were not familiar with the Kuwait port. So they found that their people are not able to put on the power of the shore crane. So they asked the master, shift the ship. Get off, shift the ship in such a way that you can discharge with your own derricks. While they gave this order to the master, after some time they changed their mind and they said, don't shift the ship. We are shifting the vessel tomorrow to Qasr. Now, why I am telling you this is very important is the timelines. 10th of August. On 11th, if they shift the vessel to Qasr, it was on 11th August that Mr. Mathur had boarded the ship in Kuwait.
Ah, okay.
Had the vessel shifted to Qasr,
He would
Mr.
not
Mathur would not have been able to board the ship at Kuwait. So what the master, chief officer and the electrician and the chief engineer did, they sent people out on the jetty to check the electrical supply for the shore crane. Our electrician was very, our crew was very resourceful,
You had
full
to
of
put the-
ideas and full of this. They eventually started the shore crane. They put the power on. So when they put the power on, they informed the Iraqi authorities who had come that the shore crane power is on. That is the reason why the vessel did not shift. So it was one very impact moment. That
Very,
this
very intelligent move.
move.
Yeah.
So our crew did a fantastic job. You know, on everything,
Yeah.
they were at ground zero. Just that credit is there for all of them. You know, what
It
they
is so
did.
nice of you that you recollect everything and you are giving the credit to them for their wonderful job. So coming back to this departure from Kuwaiti port, when the vessel started, you said about the explosion. How was arrival Dubai?
For arrival Dubai was very simple. Where arrival Dubai was, we had only one issue. We had 722 people on board. You see, the minute vessel left Kuwait, I took off from Bombay
With my sister.
and I went to Dubai. Now we have to prepare. I only have 1 day in hand. The Dubai authorities are not going to give permission for the vessel to berth until we give. You see, don't forget, we are coming from Kuwait, which is under Iraqi occupation. Dubai authorities have to ensure that all 722 people are Indians and not anyone other than Indians.
Yes.
So now, you know, as I reached Dubai, I came to know from Captain Modak that they are not allowing berthing. So I immediately, now we were in communication with the vessel, so we called the vessel and we said, slow down. Reason is you've got to be very sensitive. Passengers now, they have sailed out of the war zone, but they are 2 days in this extreme heat, 45 degrees heat. They also want to go to Dubai and get off the ship. But the big problem was that Dubai is not allowing docking of the ship until security clearances are granted. So I told Master to slow down and go and anchor at Dubai roads after sunset. He did that. Passengers were very agitated. So Master explained to them that we can come in after sunset. We cannot go, we'll be berthing tomorrow. Minute the ship came to Dubai anchorage, Captain Modak, Peter Matthias, our agent, our manager, all the rest of the office staff, myself, Dr. Kinnicker, who volunteered to come. Very nice of him to volunteer to come. And while I was, trying to get these things organized, Captain Modak and Peter organized 1,000 packets of food, over 1,000 bottles of water, so that we could carry this all to the anchorage and give it to the passengers.
So nice to hear this. Humanity above everything else.
So, when they saw us coming on board and when they said that yes, we are the owners of the ship coming, and they saw food packets coming, water coming, a doctor coming, we had no clue. Even when the vessel sailed, nobody checked with the vessel, or vessel didn't tell us they got doctors and nurses on board, because there was so much frenzy of other things. So when we took the doctor on board, the doctor was pleasantly surprised that there were 6 doctors, 10 nurses and 9 pregnant ladies, with one of them in really advanced stage.
Okay.
However, Everything happened, they had their good feed, it was a biryani which we had provided with chicken and all. People were very happy. As I always say, khichdi is one thing, biryani is another. When you have had a feel of, biryani, then khichdi goes in the background. However, all this, and then we had to leave. We couldn't wait because we had got clearance only 2 hours to board and get off.
Okay.
Now Captain Modak told me, KP, you straight away proceed to the immigration and I'm proceeding to the office. We make arrangements for tomorrow. By the time, I went to the immigration and police office, it was pretty late. I was taken in late. It was almost past midnight. So the Dubai police is saying, no problem, you give a guarantee. I said, I will give you a guarantee. That is not a problem. Let me first contact my colleague. So I called Captain Modak. So Captain Modak said, this is a joke only. He said, without guarantee de, kuch bhi hua, so you will have to stay back in Dubai. I said, sir, guarantee de do ke nahi de do? He says, give the guarantee. But while I was talking to him, I suddenly told the Dubai immigration guy, I said, all the arrangements have been made by the consular authorities, Indian consulate. Tomorrow at 7 you can, they will be making sure that everything is ready, all papers will be ready, and then you can decide to berth the vessel. Here the immigration fellow said no. He contacted the consular that night itself. Very correctly they said, we are ready, everything is ready, all papers are ready. Security, we guaranteed the security of all 722 people. We will be there on board to welcome the vessel. So please allow the vessel's berthing. So 8 o'clock, 8:30, the vessel came in. 7 o'clock, his sister Sadika, Captain Modak, Peter, all our office staff, the Indian consular officers, the Indian ambassador, from 7:30, everybody was on the jetty. Indian volunteers. We had again organized food. That is, when I say we, mainly Captain Modak and Peter Matthias, but they were the more humanitarian side of things they were doing. I was doing the technical side more.
I was linking up.
Yeah. And he was, of course, always at the back. Somebody has to hold the fort at one place and connect. So,
The thrill moment.
so everybody, when the vessel berthed, it was a great relief for everyone. And the arrangements of the Dubai immigration, the Dubai police, the Indian consular authorities, within 4 hours, the passengers started, disembarking straight into their documentation done, into the bus, onto the Dubai airport, where a whole lounge was reserved for them, where they could freshen up, they could eat, and then they were flown off to their respective flights for India.
Amazing. It's truly amazing.
So, let us not forget, sometimes while we are talking, we miss out on the good job done, we forget their names, but there are lots of people who contributed to this effort.
So it's really very, very interesting, and you are an example for others, other ship owners, saving lives of so many people. You went out of your way to do things which normally people don't do. You are not obliged to do, even the ministry told you that you don't have the life-saving equipment. But having said that, we also know that the ships run because of some commercial reasons. Were there any commercial losses because of all this entire operation? I do not want to mix it with the humanitarian act that you have done. It's a wonderful thing. But did you face any consequences because of that?
Consequences were very severe. As we say, there were no saviors for the savior.
Very sad to hear that.
Yes. So, it was, we left Dubai for Bedi Bandar, and we arrived Bedi Bandar somewhere after 4 or 5 days. Exact dates now I'm not aware of. We started loading a cargo at Bedi Bandar. And then suddenly after a few days we had a detention order. And the detention order was a shocking order. It stated that the vessel had failed to deliver the cargo to the consignee. There were several consignees. Main consignee was the Kuwait Supply Company with rice. We had also a cargo of animal feed. We had some containers, so there were numerous consignees. And the first detention order came and really jolted us. Because as you know, once a detention order comes, it has a domino effect on whatever you are doing.
Sir.
You have got to meet schedules when you are on time charter or on voyage charter. And so the first detention order we were able to get lifted with the help of intervention of Mr. Mankad and PNI services with our PNI club. Then there were several other detention orders by other consignees in Far Eastern ports, which have got different regulations. It just became extremely difficult to continue running of the ship.
Huge commercial losses.
Commercial losses were huge.
So thank you so much for telling us so many things today, and you are an example for others. You are an example for the entire shipping fraternity. That when it comes to saving the lives, humanity is above commercial losses or the commercial activities. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
I think we Indians are famous for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Every
very much.
time in a situation of crisis, we always come.
We want to. Is the interview continuing at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. We want to make sure that we want to thank all the people who did it. You know, really on the ground here, Hanif's support in Bombay, Parik Shipping support in Bombay, Peter Matthias and Captain Modak. You see, Captain Modak is running the show, ably supported by our manager and our office staff, and most of all, the people at Kuwait, because there are endless amount of people who help.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It has been a pleasure talking to you, sir.